Hi, this is Mike Ferguson.
And this is Mike Morford, and we want to tell you about our true crime podcast, Criminology.
Launched in 2017, we've covered every kind of case you can imagine, from puzzling missing persons cases to mysterious murders.
Some of the cases we cover are the biggest in true crime history, or they're high-profile cases that are currently making headlines, while some of the cases are fascinating ones you likely haven't heard of.
We cover both solved and unsolved cases, and we have 300 episodes available to binge on right now, including full seasons on the Zodiac Killer, the Golden State Killer, and Ted Bundy.
You can listen to Criminology on your favorite player or app, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
You're listening to Killer Communications, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, Missing Persons, DNA ID, Campus Killings, Scene of the Crime, Zodiac Speaking, and Beyond Bizarre True Crime. All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
In the small town of Nucla, Colorado, 42-year-old Dale Williams ran an auto body shop and a video rental store with his wife Diana. He was a family man and well-liked around the town of about 700 people. The Williams home, which included Dale, Diana, and their 2 daughters, was known to be a happy and loving one. But in 1999, Nucla would be rocked to its core when Dale took a phone call at his shop and was never heard from again. Chapter 1. The Phone Call. May 27, 1999 was a Thursday, and Dale began his day at his auto body shop where he worked passionately on his neighbor's vehicles. He was often said to work late into the night to make sure his projects were done perfectly. It wasn't uncommon for him to be at the shop until 1 or 2 in the morning. Due to this reputation, Dale had many customers, and around late morning on the 27th, one of Dale's good friends, Tom, stopped by to bring him another customer. Tom's son Ross was a minister who needed the windshield of his van replaced. The 3 men hung out at the shop for a while, catching up and playing a few rounds of darts. But around 12 p.m., the shop's telephone rang. Dale picked it up, and based on Dale's tone and the way he answered questions, Tom and Ross believed that a woman had called him. Though they couldn't hear what was being asked, Dale replied that he would come with the wrecker, but then said, "Oh, I'll just bring the pickup then." When he got off the call, Dale said someone had broken down near Bedrock and just needed their engine jumped. Both Tom and Ross thought this was a little bit odd, because Dale didn't own a mechanic shop, which would have specialized in something like that. He ran an auto body shop, which picked up wrecks and worked on cars damaged in accidents. He didn't fix cars with mechanical issues. But Dale was a helpful soul, and was never one to turn down someone in need, so they said goodbye, and Dale got in his shop truck and headed out. Chapter 2. Where did Dale go? The caller at Dale's shop had indicated they had broken down in the town of Bedrock, about 26 miles from Nucla. On his way to Bedrock, Dale stopped at a gas station owned by his neighbor and good friend, Tammy Lawrence, where he gassed up and let her know that he was on his way to help a stranded person, and that he wouldn't be able to fix her car's windshield. In hindsight, Tammy felt this was odd, and Dale would normally just call her on the phone about something so small. Tammy got the feeling Dale was uneasy about something, and maybe he wanted her husband to go along with him, but he wasn't home, so Dale left Tammy's gas station and was never seen again. Chapter 3. Missing Persons Report. By 9 p.m. on the night of the 27th, Dale hadn't returned home. While his wife Diana wasn't really worried at this point, because it was normal for Dale to be working late on projects, she did find it a little strange that he wasn't answering the shop's phone. Just a reminder, this was 1999, and according to Dale's daughter Toni, her family only had one cell phone they used if they were traveling, so Dale didn't have a cell phone with him. Diana figured Dale was just busy with his work, and although she was a little uneasy as she went to sleep that night, she felt confident that in the morning, she'd wake up with Dale next to her. But the next morning when Dale wasn't there, Diana couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Very wrong. She called Dale's mother, who lived a few blocks away, and the two women went over to the shop to see if Dale had fallen asleep at work. But what they found there raised all of the alarm bells. The shop doors were wide open. The hood of a car Dale had been working on was still propped upright, and his tools were scattered around like he had left them in the middle of his project. The scene looked like he had literally just walked away for a few minutes with intentions to return. The only thing missing was the shop truck and Dale's toolbox. Both women thought maybe Dale had gotten so into a project that he'd gone to one of the local junkyards to pick up some parts. But when they visited the junkyards that Dale frequented, no one had seen him. Beginning to panic, and at a loss for what to do next, Diana called the local police to file a missing persons report. Chapter 4. The search begins. Police called in the Colorado Bureau of Investigations, or CBI, and the Montrose County Sheriff's Department to help investigate. The Williams family also organized citizen searches of the area to see if they could find Dale. According to Dale's brother Dick, over 100 people came out to help search in those first few days. But aside from finding some tools on the side of the highway near the town of Bedrock, searches turned up nothing. Police had a few eyewitness accounts that stated they'd seen Dale's truck on the side of the highway with another vehicle on the afternoon of May 27th, but no one could identify the driver of the other car. There were no surveillance cameras in the Bedrock area, and though police were able to determine that the caller had contacted Dale's shop from a stolen cell phone, they were unable to trace it to a legitimate person. Dale's daughter, Toni, has strong beliefs that the caller couldn't have been in Bedrock when they made the call, as the town sits in a deep valley between large mountain ranges, and even today, cell phone reception there is incredibly spotty. In 1999, it would have been near impossible to have made a cell phone call from that area. With very little evidence to go on, police speculated that perhaps Dale had interrupted some criminal activity, like a drug exchange, and become the victim of a larger crime. Or perhaps someone had a nefarious purpose for the phone call. But why would anyone want to lure Dale Williams to a secluded location with the intention of harming him? By all accounts, he was a respected and deeply admired member of the community. But there was one person who didn't admire Dale. A man who remains unnamed for reasons of privacy and was a friend of Dale's turned out to be extremely abusive towards his wife and son. Dale and Diana had been friends with this family, but when the wife told them she was trying to get a divorce and afraid for her safety, Dale and Diana helped her and her son escape to a safe location while the husband was out of town. The husband was extremely angry when he came home to find his wife and son gone, and he knew that only Dale and Diana could have done something since no one else knew about this abuse. But when he confronted Dale and Diana, they claimed they didn't know anything about where the man's family might have gone. Chapter 5. Break-ins, vandalism, and a possible suspect. About a year after they'd helped their ex-friend's wife and son escape, Dale came to his shop one morning to find it had been broken into. His .22 caliber handgun was missing, and the bullets had been scattered all over the garage. There were also several photos of Dale, Diana, and this estranged couple from their happier times together that had been ripped up and left by the garage door. Then, a few months after this break-in, Diana found Dale's missing gun in the movie return drop box at their video store. While it was never proven that Dale's ex-friend was the vandal or the thief of his gun, Dale's family always felt that it was him. As far as Dale's daughter Toni knows, her father never called the police about these issues or brought charges against his ex-friend. Her feelings are that her dad wasn't the kind of person who called the police on his friends, and may not have felt the issue was serious enough to warrant calling them without definitive proof. What is very interesting is that during the community search for Dale, the police department provided hundreds of missing persons posters with Dale's information and photo on them that were to be hung around the surrounding areas. One of these places was at the Nuclear post office, and Diana noticed that the poster she hung in the post office waiting room had been ripped from the board and thrown away. She replaced the poster, and came the next day only to find that that poster too had been ripped down. This went on for several days, and Diana felt that it was no mistake. Someone was deliberately removing Dale's flyers from this prominent location. Diana was proactive. She asked the post office if they could install a camera in the waiting room to see if they could catch the perpetrator, and they agreed to do that. Within just a few days, footage from this camera captured Dale's ex-friend clearly ripping the flyer down and crumpling it up before tossing it in the garbage can. Why would he do this? Did he not want Dale to be found? Or was he just an angry man who hadn't let go of his grudge against his ex-friend? Diana took this information to the police, and they did question this man about Dale's disappearance. He did seem to be a viable person of interest. Unfortunately, he had a solid alibi in another location on the day Dale disappeared, and he also agreed to take 2 polygraph tests, which he passed, and he was quickly ruled out as a suspect. Chapter 6. Dale's truck is found. Investigators trying to solve Dale's case didn't have much until the weekend of July 4th, 1999. Just outside of Nuclear at a swimming hole down a dirt road, a local teenager named Levi was fishing with his brother. Levi's lure got hung up on something out in the water, and he decided to swim out to retrieve it. The lure was caught on the window of a submerged truck. As Levi swam around the vehicle, he wondered if it could belong to Dale Williams, and he was able to pull the dash cover off the truck's upper windshield and bring it to the surface for a better investigation. And sure enough, when he read the words, Williams Auto Body Garage, he knew the truck was Dale's. Levi immediately contacted the police and the Williams family, and a team was sent to the swimming hole to investigate this first piece of evidence. The truck was in 10 feet of water and stuck in about 3 feet of soft silt, so it required a huge backhoe to remove it from the water. This did quite a bit of damage to the vehicle, and Tony would later say that because the windows of the truck were open, some items from the truck's interior escaped downstream, and investigators never bothered to retrieve those things. Whether or not this would have been useful evidence will never be known. Dale's body was not in the truck, so he remained missing. At first, police wondered if perhaps Dale had gone off the road and into the water as a result of an accident, but when they searched the area, it became clear that it was no accident, that the truck was placed into that body of water on purpose. Police were able to determine that the truck had been running when it went into the water, and that it had gone in at a very low rate of speed. It was believed that the truck was literally walked into the lake by someone walking beside it and steering it into the water via the open window. In later interviews, Tony would explain that the swimming hole was not well known to anyone outside of the local community, and it wasn't visible from the road. So if someone had stolen her father's truck, they would have had to know the area to know that the swimming hole was there. One thing notably missing from the truck was the large toolbox Dale had in the back bed. It had been removed, and due to the water, it made taking fingerprints or doing other preliminary forensics extremely difficult. The investigation once again stalled. Chapter 7. The trail goes cold. Despite Dale's truck being recovered without a viable suspect, his disappearance quickly went cold, leaving many to speculate what might have happened to him. As with any adult who goes missing and isn't found easily, we always have to leave open the possibility that they may have just walked away from their life, although Dale's family strongly believes this didn't happen in his case. According to his brother Dick and his daughter Tony, Dale was incredibly happy with his life. He was a devoted father, was very close with his extended family, and had many friends in the community. As the police investigation would reveal, Dale didn't have financial issues. His businesses were doing well, he wasn't having any affairs, and he and Diana had a strong marriage. Nothing stood out to investigators that made them think Dale might have walked away on his own. The most popular theory, and one investigators share, is that Dale either stumbled across criminal activity at the site of the broken down car and became a potential victim of it, or he had been specifically lured to that site with the intention of being harmed. Without surveillance or other forensic evidence, it's impossible to know how things unfolded. And since Dale's body's never been recovered and no autopsy done, it's only led to a lack of answers. Chapter 8. Speculations. Many in Nuclear believe that if Dale had come across foul play, his body may likely have been disposed of down one of the many mine shafts that surround the Nuclear area, and investigators have put stock in this theory. But because the amount of mine shafts are so vast, and many of them have been permanently sealed, without a definitive location to search in, the CBI doesn't have the resources to search or exhume every single mine shaft. If someone has a viable tip for a specific location to look in, CBI will, even to this day, happily deploy resources to see if Dale's body's there. But without specific information to start with, doing this level of search isn't possible. Other people speculate that perhaps Dale's body was buried near the swimming hole where his truck was found. And sure enough, in 2015, a swimmer there called police with a tip that she believes she found a human femur bone with fabric attached to it. Unfortunately, when tested, the femur turned out to belong to a deer, and the fabric attached to it was from a pair of coveralls, which Dale hadn't been wearing on the day he disappeared. Because Dale's body was never located, many in the Nuclear community still hold out hope that Dale's alive somewhere, and every so often the Williams family is contacted by citizens who believe they've seen Dale. Dale was thought to have been spotted at a supermarket at one time, and driving a truck in another instance. But in both cases, it turned out not to be Dale. Most recently, Tony was contacted by a young man who said he met a homeless man named Dale Williams and had hopes that it was Tony's father. The man sent photographs of the homeless man to Tony to get her opinion. Dale Williams had very distinct scarring on his neck due to an accident in the auto body shop, and this homeless man didn't have those scars, so it was determined not to be Dale Williams. It was one more letdown in the case. Chapter 9. Family Impact. As of the airing of this episode, Dale Williams has been missing for 25 years, and though his family would like to believe he's alive and out there someplace, they understand it's much more likely that he's deceased. Diana has since remarried, and though she still lives in Nuclear and often wonders what happened to Dale, she's moved on with her life and tries to make the best of each day. But in her line of work, she often comes into contact with local people, and she can't help but wonder if one of them knows what happened to Dale or played some role in his disappearance. Tony and her sister have also moved on, no longer living in Nuclear, but still keeping in touch with their mom and hoping that at some point their father's case will be closed. Chapter 10. The Visitor. There's one interesting tidbit that may or may not be related to Dale's disappearance. At the time he vanished, Dale's daughter Tony was working at a drive-in theater in the town of Delta, about 40 minutes from Nuclear. The day before Dale received that phone call in his shop, a man went to Tony's job and requested her by name. When he was told she was off that night, the man allegedly walked angrily across the street from the drive-in to make a phone call on a payphone there. Though only confirmed by rumor, eyewitnesses claim that this man strongly resembled Dale's ex-friend, and when Tony was told that a man had visited looking for her, she didn't think anything of it. But after Dale disappeared, she always wondered if the phone call at the payphone and the one her father received at his shop the next morning were connected. Without surveillance or traceable phone evidence, we can never know, but the coincidence is an eerie one. And it does leave a window open for speculation, and lots of questions, among them being, could this man have been Dale's ex-friend who was plotting something against the Williams family? Was his plan to steal or hurt Tony as payback for his wife and son being taken from him? Was it possible Dale may have known this and took the call in his shop and knew he had to comply or something would happen to his family? Or was Dale simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, in an era before surveillance and advanced forensics could help solve this case? Chapter 11. The Break in the Case. The Williams family stayed in contact with the investigators on Dale's case, which remained open and active. Though there have always been different detectives on Dale's case over the last 26 plus years, Tony says their current investigator is absolutely wonderful. He followed up on every tip and always stayed in contact with family about anything he felt could lead to information about Dale's disappearance. And his hard work seems to have paid off. On October 18, 2023, a break in the case was finally made. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation obtained a warrant to search a Nuclear residential property based on an anonymous tip that there was a body buried there. Between October 19th and 21st, investigators searched the property, home, and garage of a man named James Daniel Bishop. A year later, in October 2024, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation publicly announced that Bishop was arrested in the Dale Williams case. Chapter 12. Who is James Daniel Bishop? As it turns out, James Daniel Bishop is the ex-friend of Dale's, the one who was unnamed at the beginning of this episode, and had been seen tearing down flyers in the post office asking for help in Dale's case. James Daniel Bishop is currently 68 years old. In affidavits released to the public in October 2024, statements revealed that a .22 caliber rifle had been found in Dale's submerged truck back in 1999. Through the course of the long investigation, detectives discovered this same rifle had been purchased by Dan Bishop in 1996 and matched the bullets found at Dale's garage after his disappearance. And while Bishop had been interviewed several times by police over the years and was always on their suspect list, there was never any definitive evidence to tie him to the case, until now. While it hasn't been released to the public exactly what evidence investigators had to arrest Bishop, affidavits show that he lied in several police interviews, and that there may have been an accomplice, Bishop's now deceased cousin, Veldon Barnes. Evidence points to Barnes and Bishop being seen around Dale's shop right before his disappearance, and during interviews, Bishop alleged that Barnes was the one who shot and killed Dale Williams. As of the time of this recording, the investigation is still ongoing, and most details haven't been released to the public. On October 17, 2024, a year after the search of this property, James Daniel Bishop was officially charged with the first-degree murder of Dale Williams and has been held on a $1 million cash bond. It's yet unknown if Bishop will go to trial, and there are several unanswered questions in this case still. One of them, did one of these suspects make a call to Dale luring him from his shop? Or is there a third conspirator, a female perhaps, as his friends suspected when they heard Dale talking on the phone after the mysterious call? Another question is whether the strange call Tony received at her job right before her father disappeared was made by one of these suspects. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to provide updates to this case and get more answers when they're available. If you want to take deeper dives into Dale's case, I suggest 2 different podcast episodes I've worked on in the past on my other shows. You'll find episodes about Dale on missing persons and criminology. Audience invitation. Is there a case or an unexplained communication you'd like us to cover? Please take the time to rate and review this show, and in your comments, tell us what case you'd like us to tackle. You can also follow us and reach us on social media. We're on x.com at KillerCPod, and on Facebook at facebook.com/KillerCommunicationsPodcast. And be sure to check out our website, KillerCommunicationspodcast.com. Killer Communications listeners, if you want to support this show and get access to things like ad-free listening, early release episodes, and any bonus content, consider supporting us with an AbJack Insider subscription through Apple Podcasts. For $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, your AbJack Insider subscription will not only unlock all of these great benefits for this show, but for every podcast on the AbJack network of indie podcasts. Get your AbJack Insider subscription started with a free trial. Simply head over to Apple Podcasts and search for AbJack Entertainment, and you'll find the option to set up and unlock your subscription and start enjoying all the benefits of being a subscriber. We'll also include a link in the show notes. Your support is greatly appreciated. Just a heads up, new episodes of Killer Communications air every other Saturday. Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll join us on the next episode of Killer Communications.
Killer Communications is narrated and produced by Mike Morford for AbJack Entertainment. It's researched and written by Abigail Belcastro. Be sure to visit the show's website, KillerCommunicationspodcast.com, for past episodes, social media links, show news, and more.